Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to mount the motor controller on the box first. Then we'll put the contactors on and make sure they all fit correctly. Okay, so we've got our motor controller. So that'll make sure all the surfaces are clean. That'll sit on top here. Again, we're not sure how much heat this produces and what the effect's going to be on the box or anything like that. That's some testing we'll do down the track. So we've got one little bracket on that side and one on the back side. So that'll hold that in position. It's not going to go anywhere once these bolts are done up. So we have got some, just put a little bit of Loctite on these. I'm not concerned about them coming loose. They do have spring washers and things on them, but just to make sure everything is held in position. So I'm just going to temporarily put the bolts in the going to lid. I've got to put some slightly longer bolts. At least it'll hold that in position. We'll replace those once we get them. But just so we can keep moving forward, I'm going to bolt down the motor control. So I'm just going to put a little bit of Loctite on these as we put them in. Come on. Basically so they don't rattle loose. They've got spring washers on them, so they shouldn't go anywhere. But it is on a slight angle. It's not straight onto the bolt. And it's going into the aluminium, which will also reduce the chance of electrolysis between the stainless steel and the aluminium. From all the information I could see about different metals reacting together, aluminium being often used as an anode in boating and things, which is like sacrificial. So the aluminium will go first, the stainless steel will be fine. Stainless steel is fairly inert material from what I could see, but the Loctite will also act as a bit of a barrier between the two materials. There we go, we've got the bolt started. So basically we're just going to centre the motor controller over that and we'll wind it in a bit. Not too tight because I am screwing into aluminium. Aluminium being soft, I don't want too much tension on it. But I do know that once these are done up, this motor controller isn't going to move. Just a little bit of light tension, just enough to compress the spring washer. There we go. So now we'll put on the two contactors. Oops, someone's doing some leaf blowing somewhere. Okay, so same again. I'm just going to put a little bit of Loctite on these, just to prevent them just rattling loose. Got a spring washer on it. I don't think there's going to be a lot of vibration. I know there was some comment on these actual contactors maybe not liking the vibration, and I might get some open circuiting or chattering with vibration. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's good advice. Always look forward to hearing people's advice on these things because I'm not an expert. Did have a few issues trying to find contactors suitable that would take the voltage and the current and also have a 12 volt coil on them. So I came up with these. I also looked at some options with the transistor style relays. This is obviously the cheaper option at the time. Otherwise I could get some that will take some vibration, but they're like $250 each, and which is $500 for the bike. It's just more money I don't want to have to spend if I don't need to. So we'll see how these go. So there we go, they're bolted in position now. So we'll just test it and see how these go. If they give us some troubles, we can change them out. So that's actually all bolted in position now. That's not going to move. That's not going anywhere anymore. So we'll move on to the next bit. Okay, so we've got the contactors and we've got the motor controller on board. So what we might do first, I think, is connect the motor wires up to the motor controller. Alrighty, so I've got 4 sets of these silicon terminal covers. They come in, each set has one red, one black. Now I've figured out the positive cables, which I need, but obviously I'd like to put something on the motor cables too. So I'm thinking, since the motor cables are only live when the motor is running, I might just use the excess black. Otherwise I'm only using one black one, and I haven't got enough red ones to do all of the motor cables. So I think it's better to have something on there rather than nothing, just to make it look a bit tidier and give it a bit more protection. So I'm going to use the black ones for the motor cables. Okay, so we've got the yellow wire on. Thankfully that was a bit longer than all the other wires, because these, the green and the blue, would not make it to that terminal. So we're just by pure luck that is a bit longer than the other motor cables. So we're tensioning these to 6 Newton meters, because it recommends maximum, absolute maximum of 8 Newton meters. So we're going to go to 6. So we've got our tension wrench here. That's set to 6 Newton meters. So we'll put the other 2 terminals on and come back. Alrighty, so that's the 3 motor terminals connected now. So now I think I might connect the main negative next. So I'll get that cable out and get it ready. Alrighty, so I'm going to hook up this big main neutral cable, which will go down onto the BMS leads coming out the top there. Now for this I am bolting 4 lugs together, which isn't ideal, but it's sort of my only option. Then I'll put 2 layers of heat shrink over it all, which will protect it from any harm. It's not going to be an issue, they're not going to come loose or anything, because there's no movement there. But there is a bit of a gap in the way the lugs sit over top, so I've just got to file a little tiny bit off the big lug so that the 2 lugs on top sit flat, and then I'll be happy to bolt it all in and tension it up. Alrighty, so we just filed a little bit off the top of the lug there, and that just allows this lug here to sit better. So you could tension it up and it'll pull in, but I prefer for everything to fit without put a heap of pressure on it first, then you don't have any problems with anything coming loose. So that'll do now, so we'll start bolting that piece in. Alrighty, so that's the neutrals all connected together. So that's the 2 wires coming out of the BMS onto the main neutral here, and this neutral here goes to the DC-DC converter for charging the bike's battery. So yeah, we'll put some heat shrink over that, and once we tie all this to the frame in position, there'll be 0 movement there, no vibration, so don't have any expectations of any problems there. I've tensioned that to 8 Newton meters, which should be about right. A 6mm bolt, 8's about your maximum, so didn't want to exceed that. So I'm not expecting that to ever come loose, so we'll get the heat shrink on it and then it'll be protected. Okay, so there we go, we've got the main negative from the battery pack that comes out of the BMS, now connected through to the top of the motor controller. So now I don't have any loose wires hanging around, which is good. Don't like anything loose and uncovered. So that's all connected up now. So the next bit will be to start connecting up the positive cables. So let's put those in now. Okay, so we've got the leads here that are going to connect from the fuse to the contactors, and then between the contactor and the motor controller. And there's also a couple of smaller wires that have got to go on at the motor controller end, which goes up to the main controls and stuff. So that plugs into the motor controller right here. So we'll plug those in as well, so we can connect all the connections up at the same time. We'll start with the connection between the fuse and contactor 1. We'll put that one in first, so we'll do that right now. So we've got the positive from the fuse to contactor 1, and we've put in the wire that will go to the charger through the fuse, the charging fuse, and we're just putting in the second wire now, which will go to the DC-DC converter for charging the bike's battery. We've put some ferrules on because we had a bit of a discussion online about that on the YouTube channel, and someone said, oh, ferrules are probably better than using soldered wires, so we put some ferrules on to make sure that we don't have anything come loose. So we'll get this one tightened up and move on to the wires going from the contactor 2 to the motor controller. Alrighty, so we've put in the wire for the main power to the motor controller from contactor 2, including the pre-charge resistor. We've connected the control wire that goes up to the screen and also goes into the motor controller to tell it what voltage is going into it. And we have put in the wire that goes to right through to the DC-DC converter for charging the 12-volt battery that's on the motorbike. So I've just picked up the screws for the lid, the longer screws. So we'll put those in and lock that lid down once and for all, and then we'll have a look at what's next. Alright, so I'm cutting down these screws, so there's only about 5mm of thread left to screw in, because I know there's about 6mm of thread on the nutserts. So by the time this screws down, it'll still be within the nutsert that's inside the box, and we know that there's no problems with the nutserts in there. So providing we don't have a big screw going past the end of the nutsert, we can guarantee we're not going to have any problems. So we'll do the same all the way around for all the screws that are too short. Well, there we go, it's raining outside again, just for something unusual. Alright, so we have got the bolts all changed over now in the lid of the box, and they're all put in. So the next connections, I think we'll start with connecting these contactor wires, control wires, to the motorcycle. So we've got some new connections, because basically what I want to be able to do is just unplug a couple of things and be able to drop this whole box, motor assembly, batteries and everything out of the bike. So everything I put in is going to have connections on it, so I can just quickly disconnect and drop it out if I ever need to do any work on the motor or the sprockets. So we'll get these cables here tidied up for the contactors and get them connected to the controls of the bike. Alright, so we've got the contactor wires. They come around underneath here up to a new plug now. So they're straight into the wiring loom, which goes up to the controls at the front of the bike. So now if I turn on the kill switch, we should have contactor 1 come in, and press the start button, contactor 2 will come in. So that's all working now. So the next thing I think we'll do will be the inertia switch. We'll get that set up while we're working in this area. Okay, so we have got the connections now made up for the 2 contactors and another one here that goes down to the inertia switch, which is on the side of the box down here. So next we've got to connect up the lead from the motor controller that goes to, one goes to the screen here, and one to the kill switch and one to the throttle. So we're going to take the front fairing off so we can access all of those cables, and as we put it all back together again, we can tie everything up all nice so that it'll all look as good as new. So we'll take the front fairing off now and try and find where I put those wires and get them all connected. Okay, so we're just running the cable, following the other cables of the bike, and we've plugged them in. We found all the connections up underneath the dash here. Now we need to find somewhere to put the BMS monitoring unit, so I'm thinking we're just going to put it on here. So I'm going to have it mounted just on the edge. Just got to cut a piece out so this will actually slide in, and then I can glue it into position. But I think on the dash, if that was sitting in sort of that position there, that'll be good viewing from the sitting position on the bike, so I'll be able to see it nice and clearly past the main screen. So I'm going to put a little cut in here, and we'll mount this while we've got the front pulled off. Okay, so we've cut a little slot inside the dash here, so now we can slide that in and we can stick it into position once we're happy with its final location. And yeah, so while I'm riding, I'll be able to see the battery levels, which will be on all the time while the battery's under load. And yeah, so I think that's going to look really good there. So we're just about ready to fire it up, I think. So what I might do now, we might put the main fuse in for the positive for the batteries, and then we can turn on the BMS and turn on the discharge function, which will then allow power to flow from the batteries into the motor controller via the contactors. So let's get the fuse in, and I'll change that over to discharge and see how it goes. If anything goes wrong, obviously I've got the kill switches up here to shut everything down, but I'm not expecting there to be any issues because I've already bench tested this. It's just got more control on it now, so let's put the fuse in. Alrighty, so I believe this is now ready to run. So I've put in the 400 amp fuse, I've gone on to the BMS app and set it to discharge. So now it'll discharge the full current from the battery to the motor controller. We have connected from the motor controller up to the control screen and the kill switch and the throttle. So if I've got it all right, it should be just a matter of turning on, so the BMS is fired up, so it's running. Otherwise nothing will happen if I don't turn that on. So if I turn the key switch on, that's now boarding contactor number 1. So now it's pre-charging the motor controller, and it's brought up the light to tell me that I'm pre-charging. So if I press the start button, that light will go off. And now, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a little red light under here to show the motor controller's on. So now I can press the button on the dash here to turn on the screen. So it's coming up. There we go, so we are fully connected now. So if I turn the throttle gently, see the BMS has come on, so while the batteries are under load, the BMS will continually show how much power it's got left, percentage, voltage and amps going out. So there we go. It is operational. So if we just walk around to the other side, down to where the motor is, and I'll give it a little twist. There you go, you can see it's all working. So obviously the chain's not on it yet, but yeah, it's all operational now. So what we'll do is tidy up all the wiring, get all the fairing back on it, get the chain on it, so that we can make sure everything's functioning correctly. And yeah, so there we go. So that's a massive step to get it to operate. And when I'm finished with it, it's just a matter of turning the switch off and everything will just power down. The only thing that keeps running is the BMS. So the screen will go off. There we go. So it's turned off just like a normal motorbike. Only it's not. So yeah, there we go. That's excellent. So I'm really happy with that. I hope you enjoyed watching it so far. And yeah, so we'll go through now and tidy up the wiring, make sure everything's tied up and clear of everything. Put maybe some brackets and clips in to tie the wiring so that it doesn't move around, and start putting the fairing back on.